Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up here. Man, I've missed being here and starting my morning out right here with you guys, sitting here behind my studio set here, and I appreciate being back. It's always nice seeing family and everything, but it's even better to be back home where I belong. We've got some interesting stuff that is going on today. We're hearing that the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers are actually talking about a contract extension, one that will be a short-term contract extension, but will make him the highest paid player in the NFL. The thing that will be interesting that I will actually be looking for when they do this deal is, will we hear the whole adage that if you pay the quarterback, you won't win the Super Bowl? We've heard that so many times when it comes to Dak Prescott, that the Cowboys, if they pay Dak, they're not going to be able to do anything. Well, the short-term deal, it's hard to hide the money that's on there. Currently, Aaron Rodgers is about a $46 million cap hit. So if we're talking about a 2 or 3 year deal, I'm assuming they'll put a voidable year in that or something like that. It still may be a $40+ million cap hit. And we're talking about a team that has a lot of free agents like, Devontae Adams, who need to get paid as well. It'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works. How this also hurts others is, well, quite frankly, there's a lot of teams that are hoping that they would have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. Talking about like the Denver Broncos, who it's been rumored would be the team that would definitely get him. Of course, there's the Washington football team that are searching for a quarterback as well. And if Aaron Rodgers were released, they would love to be able to get him as well. Basically, there's not quarterbacks out there that you look at and say they're going to be great quarterbacks. You think about where Pittsburgh is right now. Pittsburgh's talking about Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, if he's not re-signed by the Bucks, who, by the way, just started actually running on a treadmill 5 months after having ACL surgery. And I want you to think about that for a second, that Jameis Winston is just getting back on the treadmill after tearing his ACL 5 months ago. And as we sit here and thinking about Michael Gallup being ready for training camp, if Jameis Winston is just beginning to run on the treadmill, you look and say March, April, May, June, July. We're talking about July that Michael Gallup starts running on a treadmill. Do we believe that he will be ready to start the season as a full go? It's one thing to run on a treadmill where you're going straight in line. It's another to be able to go downfield, to leap to the sky, to grab the football, or to plant and cut and move off of that. I'm not sure that the Cowboys should make that gamble and say all of our plans depend on him being ready for week 1. I'm just kind of concerned about that one. Which brings us, of course, to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, yesterday, Dallas Cowboys, Stephen Jones, doing his best Jerry Jones impersonation, seemed to be, doing a lot of talking. One of the things he talked about was they haven't really gotten there yet with the Amari Cooper situation or D-Law. There's a lot of moving parts to it and things. Didn't commit on saying, hell yeah, we're going to bring him back. On the other hand, Zeke Elliott, he did say that, Zeke, and this is where you kind of understand, because there's really nothing that they can do with Zeke other than restructure his contract. They made the deal, and unfortunately, cutting him will cost you more money than keeping him. But I want to bring up a little interesting tad bit here. When we think about the Dallas Cowboys, it is my contention that part of the problem with the Dallas Cowboys isn't so much Dak Prescott, and where we talk about how Zeke Elliott, if Zeke's not running, it's because Dak Prescott is a garbage quarterback, and we don't win. My contention is you can look throughout the history of this offense that we're running. When you can't run the football, you don't win. And that is even with Troy Aikman. The record the Dallas Cowboys had when Emmitt Smith ran the ball for 100 plus yards, 57-19. Guys, that's almost a 75% win percentage. 75% of the time when Emmitt Smith ran for 100 yards, the Dallas Cowboys won. Flat out. When they didn't, not so good. And this lies the problem, the fatal flaw with this offense. If you can't run the football, you're not going to win as well. You're just not. And here is where the Cowboys have their issue. The offensive line was in terrible shape last year. And for me, you must fix the lines. Now, I'm not a GM. I'm not a football coach. I'm not an owner. But as I look at the teams that went to the Super Bowl, as I look throughout history of the Dallas Cowboys, when the Cowboys have been Super Bowl winning teams, they've always been able to block and run the football. And that even goes with Tony Romo. The years that we didn't have a very good running attack, yeah, we won some games, but we didn't go anywhere because we just couldn't when crunch time happened. The Cowboys, if they're going to continue the same offense, are going to have to be balanced. They're going to be able to have to run the football. And the question becomes is, are the Cowboys better off trying to create cap room with Amari Cooper and taking lesser guys to try and replace him, gamble on Michael Gallup and release him, or try to trade him? Now, part of the reason why Amari Cooper is a cut cap hit type guy is you can actually end up creating a lot more space because it's only literally a $6 million cap hit. You literally grab $15 million, $16 million, because his guaranteed money was basically the first 2 years. It's not so much when you talk about Demarcus Lawrence. He still has a lot of guaranteed money that's left on his contract. And this problem for the Cowboys is of their own making. They're the ones that signed these deals. Now, there are teams that probably would look at Amari Cooper and say, yeah, maybe we could trade for him. What is his trade value right now? I don't know that it's a number one per se, but I'm sure that they could end up getting something in return. And if you're going to go that route and say, we're going to get $15 million and we can get a third or second round draft pick, then maybe you consider that and say, or a player that you can try and fill in some of those other areas. If I were to say what's more important, to have Amari Cooper or to have a great offensive lineman, I would say at this point it may be that we need to get that great offensive lineman. Because if your quarterback is not upright and if you do not have holes to run the football with this offense, it doesn't matter who you have as a wide receiver. You don't have time to get them the ball. And that's my personal thoughts. Now, before I get on to our video for the morning, which is definitely relevant to everything that's going on here, we do have the combine. Of course, that's why we've got Stephen Jones, who's out there in Front Street. You don't have anybody else talking like the Dallas Cowboys, and herein lies part of the fatal flaw of the Cowboys is your time is not just about spending it on football. It's about being basically a celebrity, and you're a part-time football player. You've got your own shows. You got everybody wants to talk to you, and everybody has got the stars around them because you are the Dallas Cowboys. We do have the combine, and the combine is one of those places and opportunities that a lot of business gets done behind the scenes. Teams can have informal talks with somebody and say, hey, man, I know you got some problems with Amari Cooper. Maybe we can work out something and take him off your hands. Hence, you will see a lot of deals that will start happening this week and going into next week because of these meetings that can kind of get you on the same track. So we'll see about that. Now, when I got home last night, I've ordered, because I'm doing all the big butcher blocks and the cutting boards and all that stuff, I'm using a lot more of the epoxy resin. I was ordering from Amazon my epoxy resin, which would be like a gallon at a time. But I found a manufacturer where I can buy 2 gallons for just a little bit more. And that way I can keep the cost down some. And so I ordered actually 4 gallons, and I thought that this was the package when I came home last night. But this is not. This is something from Evan. Evan Garcia? No, I'm sorry. Evan. Okay, it's from Evan. Okay, Evan with the Evan G. And so I have no idea what this is, but I do want to open this up this morning. One of these days, I'm sure I'm going to get a troll that's going to send me like a pile of dog poop. And I don't think that this is it because it's too big a box. But I'm really curious as to what this is this morning. You know what? Look, this is where you got to love the Postal Service. It's got labels on it. Please handle with care. Fragile. And the box is like, look, like got a hole in it. But I don't hear any glass or anything broken on it. So we'll see what we've got here. What we have here. Got some great foam. Okay. We got a box inside a box. Okay. Acrylic display box. Okay. Well, good thing is they put a box inside of a box, so that way it, okay. Right. We got a box inside a box with a box inside of a box. Love these corners. Okay. We're going to repurpose the corners on our cutting boards to make sure they're well protected. Okay, I tell you what, they were smart. There's another box inside of here. It's a Chinese torture. We're going to put box inside of a box, inside of a box, inside of a box. Okay. That's the base. All right. Here's the acrylic. Okay. All right. So we have the top of the base. Okay. So that's going to go on there. And what do we have here? Okay. We got another box inside the box. Hawaiian old-time brand sea salt. Oh, man. Wow. Wow. We have an autographed Too Tall Jones, Danny White, Tony Dorsett. Wow. Wow. Evan, dude, you did too much, man. Holy moly. I need a bigger desk. Where am I? Wow. Too Tall Jones, Danny White, Tony Dorsett, and I can't get that last one. This is frickin' Evan. Wow. And I got boxes on top of it. Shout out to you. The Adrian Sea Salt. Okay. Appreciate it. I got to try out the Adrian, the sea salt. All right, so shout out to Evan. I appreciate this. I'm going to have to rearrange everything that we do in here. I don't know. Maybe that one's going to go in front of the other desk there, so that way we've got it. Oh, wow. I've got some work to do today. Shout out to you. All right, now, that's the instruction books for it. Now, this was a great discussion this morning that they had about Stephen Jones talking about where we are with the situation with Amari Cooper. And I definitely want you guys to listen to this, because this is very telling.
We've obviously been so fortunate to have, those three great receivers on our roster, and obviously that's hard to keep doing, under a salary cap. And certainly there's some moving parts to that we'll have to continue to massage as we move forward.
Let me be very clear, because I hate Cowboys, okay? I'm a Giants fan. Got it?
I'm a Giants fan, too. I still have the same kind of hate for the boys.
I find myself on this show saying, hey, the Cowboys need to do this and that. And I'm like, damn, if I'm right, don't listen to me. Unless I'm wrong, then listen to me. Sean, Jay, Will, and Max, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average. What should the Cowboys do this offseason? What should they do? Key immediately kicks. Kick the can down the road, Key?
That's what they always do.
But, this is a good example of what we were talking about before, okay? Cowboys got to get under the cap. Here is Stephen Jones, the Cowboys executive vice president and son of the owner. At a press conference, listen to him talk about first. Okay, look, they have a choice to make, right? They got to they have a high-priced running back in Ezekiel Elliott. They have a high-priced wide receiver in Amari Cooper. First, Stephen Jones on Zeke.
I want Zeke on my team. I mean, that guy, you talking about playing through some injuries and some things that are hard. I mean, he is a competitor. I think he's a damn good running back, and I think he's gonna help us win this year. And obviously, his contract, his money's guaranteed. He's gonna be here. There's no question. So, and we're fortunate to have it.
That's the boss's son on Zeke, the running back. Boy, I want him on my team. And by the way, he's a very good GM. I'm not, but that's power lies. He wants him on his team because he got guaranteed money, and he wants him on his team. What else is he going to say? Here he is on Amari Cooper being on the roster.
This is messed up.
It's too early for me to address that yet. I mean, we're continuing to have conversations. A lot of things affect that in terms of, we've obviously been so fortunate to have, those three great receivers on our roster, and obviously that's hard to keep doing, under a salary cap. And certainly, Sed did a really nice job for us, and he's up. So, there's some moving parts to that we'll have to continue to massage as we move forward.
I hate the fact that this is true about running backs. I think there should be a separate exception in the CBA just to pay running backs, because it never works when you pay your running back. The Gurley contract was a disaster. The Zeke contract is a disaster. Saquon Barkley, we'll see. Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Like, it doesn't pay to pay running backs. Zeke is the guy to me's key.
Zeke's not a disaster.
For the money? Look, Zeke is the guy to me they should get rid of, but they can't because of his contract situation. He counts $30 million in dead cap. They can't move on from him this year. That's why the owner's son is going. Stephen Jones, the executive VP, is going. I really love him. I want him on my team.
Base salary this year of $18.2 million.
Yeah,
next year,
next
year he counts $11 million. I bet you next year he's singing a different tune about Zeke.
Well, the numbers are going to be different, and if Zeke doesn't perform, of course you're going to sing a different tune.
Yeah.
But you got to think about what Stephen Jones is saying. When a guy is with you, standing with you on the sideline every single week, that's important. It's so important. I don't need a guy in the damn training room every single week. It doesn't do me any good. If I can have my players get on the bus and show up to the game, that's more important believe it or not, than his performance. Because if he's there, I know he's going to perform. If he ain't never there,
can't do anything.
Can't
Best
help
ability
me.
is availability.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, have you guys ever had like a torn ligament to a degree in your knee?
Yeah.
My knee, nope.
I am.
Yeah. So like, your knee would swell up all the time. Wouldn't it? You know how hard it is to play on a torn PCL? On torn PCL.
Yeah.
Rush for 1,000 yards on 230
I
plus
used to have to
carries,
get- I used to have to
10
get-
touchdowns.
I used to get my knee drained every week. I used to have to get my knee drained every single week.
All I'm saying, to add to Key's point, the accountability for somebody that you know is playing through injury,
Yes.
even sharing the load with Tony Pollard, to wonder what it would be like healthy in this part of this year. It's a massive year for him. Let's be honest about it.
Now, to your point, next year, Max, all bets are off.
Yeah.
We ain't dealing with next year. We're dealing with the now.
Right.
I remember back in the day, I'll give you a comparison to baseball, okay? Back in the day, there was a center fielder real good named Darren Erstad. He wound up playing first base for the Angels. They overpaid him, right? Mm-hmm. And he was a very good defensive first baseman, and he was a decent hitter but lost all his power. And they would always talk about how important he was and everything, but the bottom line is, if they would have known the power would have left and he'd be stuck on first base, they never would have paid him. And the reason they stuck with him is because they had paid him. Not that he wasn't any good, it's that
Zeke's power ain't going nowhere. He ain't done.
But Zeke, all his toughness and accountability and all that stuff, they still got bounced in the first round. And the fact is, if his contract wasn't tethering him to the team, I think they'd move on.
Is that more Zeke or Mike McCarthy?
Which part?
Fair point.
Oh,
It's
lose,
just-
Fair
losing.
point.
I'm just saying their whole game was predicated on the run game. Key, like we talk about how important that was.
They're extremely important. If you look at their numbers when they rushed for over 100 yards, I believe they were undefeated. When they rushed for over 100 yards as a team.
Now, Key thinks they should trade someone else.
I think that if they can move on from Amari Cooper, or if they can't restructure his deal, and not because Cooper is a bad football player or nothing like that, it's just that they need some help in other places in their secondary. So if they can acquire Marcus Peters from Baltimore, depending on what his ACL situation is like, then you go get that shutdown corner because you have some options at receiver. You just do. You got CeeDee Lamb, who, by the way, will be coming up in a year or two or whatever the case is. You got
His
Cedric
contract.
Wilson. You could probably sign him back for a discount, not necessarily. He won't command huge money. He'll be less than Amari Cooper, depending on what happens with Gallup. So you got some interesting pieces, and your offense is not predicated on the passing game. It is about play action and running the football.
But
Yeah.
I think you're making rational choices here. You're doing rational analysis of the situation and making the right choices. But my point is part of what you're factoring in. Look, here's Amari Cooper's contract details. He counts $22 million towards the cap, but only has a $6 million dead cap hit. So a lot of the incentive to move on from one dude and keep another dude has to do with what it's going to cost you.
Yep.
Well, that's what I said.
What if the cost was the same for Cooper and Zeke? What would you do? Cost is the same to get rid of them. Which one would you move on from?
If the cost was the same, if Zeke was $6 million, I'm still moving on from Amari.
That's interesting.
Because my game,
It's
my
about the
system
run.
and my game is about running the football, being big up front, dominating the line of scrimmage, and giving the football to 21. Then pulling the ball out of the belly of 21 and allowing my quarterback to deliver it to CeeDee Lamb or Gallup or Cedric Wilson, drafting another guy. I need help in the secondary. If I can get an all-pro corner like a Marcus Peters, if he's still Marcus Peters,
I have a
Now,
question
Peter,
for you.
let me ask this, Key. So
yeah.
why
There
would
you go. All right, we're going to end it there because we're actually getting a little long-winded here. But the point here is the Dallas Cowboys with this offense, history shows us that if we can't run the football, and we got to be abysmal in the second half of the season, maybe Ezekiel Elliott can rebound from the PCL injury. It'll help if we can get the offensive line more cohesion because we had so many different lineups and being able to run the football. We can get back to play action and start to get to playing football better with it. We'll see what happens. If the Cowboys could get a good trade, they may end up doing that to try and say we can fill in with lesser with less expensive players than Amari Cooper. You know, sometimes it's addition by subtraction. So with that being said, it's time for us to roll out of here. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe. Thanks, Evan. I appreciate you, bro.
I get to